The women that saved King David's life during Absalom's reign. The woman said to Joab, "His head will be thrown to you from the wall." Now, how did we get to this point? I didn't want this video to be too long. Just note this biblical account is found in 2 Samuel 13 through 2 Samuel 20. This all started when King David's son Absalom took it to his own hand to become the ruler of the land. Absalom held a grudge against his father because he, King David, did not avenge Tamar being accosted by their half-brother Amnon. In the story of King David and Absalom, there were several women that are mentioned in their family dysfunction. Tamar, David's daughter, a wise woman used by Joab, a wench, which is a female servant from a nearby town of En Rogel, a man's wife from Bahurim, and a wise woman from Abel, Beth, Maacah. Forgive me if I'm not pronouncing these names correctly. I did try to listen to how they're pronounced, but I'm American, so forgive me. Let's continue. Absalom's sister Tamar, who was accosted by their half-brother Amnon. Once this crime was committed, Absalom was upset with King David that he didn't avenge Tamar's honor. However, about 2 years later, Absalom plotted and killed Amnon. After this, Absalom spent some time in Gershon, in Urim. Later in years, Absalom came back to be near his father David, but Absalom could not be inside the kingdom. One day, Absalom got Joab's attention. Joab was King David's armor-bearer. Absalom kept pleading with Joab to be back into his father's house, but Joab continued to ignore him. One day, Absalom realized the field next to him belongs to Joab. So Absalom set it on fire. This got Joab's attention. Once Joab came to inquire why did Absalom set his lot on fire, Absalom said he wanted to see his father. So Joab uses, the Bible says, a wise woman to convince David to let Absalom come back into the house. And the account is in 2 Samuel 14. Joab, son of Zeruiah, knew that the king's heart longed for Absalom. So Joab sent someone to Tekoa and had a wise woman brought from there. He said to her, "Pretend you are in mourning, dress in mourning clothes, and don't use any cosmetic lotions. Act like a woman who has spent many days grieving for the dead. Then go to the king and speak these words to him." And Joab put the words in her mouth. When the woman from Tekoa went to the king, she fell with her face to the ground to pay him honor. And she said, "Help me, your majesty." The king asked her, "What is troubling you?" She said, "I am a widow. My husband is dead. I, your servant, had 2 sons. They got into a fight with each other in the field, and no one was there to separate them. One struck the other and killed him. Now the whole clan has risen up against your servant. They say, 'Hand over the one who struck his brother down, so that we may put him to death for the life of his brother whom he killed. Then we will get rid of the heir as well.' They would put out the only burning coal I have left, leaving my husband neither name nor descendant on the face of earth." The king said to the woman, "Go home, and I will issue an order in your behalf." But the woman from Tekoa said to him, "Let my lord the king pardon me and my family, and let the king and his throne be without guilt." The king replied, "If anyone says anything to you, bring them to me, and they will not bother you again." She said, "Then let the king invoke the Lord, his God, to prevent the avenger of blood from adding to the destruction, so that my son will not be destroyed. As surely as the Lord lives," he said, "not one hair of your son's head will fall on the ground." Then the woman said, "Let your servant speak a word to my lord the king." "Speak," he replied. The woman said, "Why then have you devised a thing like this against the people of God? When the king says this, does he not convict himself? For the king has not brought back his bandaged son. Like water spilled on the ground, which cannot be recovered, so we must die. But that is not what God desires. Rather, he devises ways so that a banished person does not remain banished from him. And now I have come to say this to my lord, the king, because the people have made me afraid. I will speak to the king. Perhaps he will grant his servant's request. Perhaps the king will agree to deliver his servant from the hand of the man who is trying to cut off both me and my son from God's inheritance. And now your servant says, may the word of my lord the king secure my inheritance. For my lord the king is like an angel of God in discerning good and evil. May the Lord your God be with you."
Then King David said to the woman,
"Don't keep from me the answer to what I'm going to ask you." "Let my lord the king speak," the woman said. The king asked, "Isn't this the hand of Joab with you in all of this?" The woman answered, "As surely as you live, my lord, the king, no one can turn to the right or to the left from anything my lord, the king says. Yes, it was your servant Joab who instructed me to do this and who put all these words into my mouth of your servant. Your servant Joab did this to change the present situation. My lord has wisdom like that of an angel of God. He knows everything that happens in the land." The king said to Joab, "Very well, I will do it. Go bring back the young man Absalom." Now I'm going to continue on. This is more of the story, not the exact scripture, because like I said, I didn't want this to be too long. So once Absalom was back into King David's graces, he plotted to take over the kingdom and was successful for some time. You can find this in 2 Samuel 15. Absalom also appointed Ahithophel to help conspire against his father, King David. Hushai, David's confidant, was used as a spy to inform on all the things that Absalom does in the palace.
Ahithophel gave bad advice, suggesting that Absalom
Sleep with King David's concubine. Absalom did this in the sight of Israel. Ahithophel suggests to set up an army to go after King David. Absalom asked to also get advice from Hushai. Hushai said, "This isn't a good idea, as you know King David's men are mighty men." Hushai sent word to David to quickly pass through the night. King David's men, Jonathan and Ahimaaz, were staying in the nearby town of En Rogel. A wench, a female servant, came and told King David's men what Hushai advised. A young boy overheard the plans and went to tell Absalom. So Jonathan and Ahimaaz went away quickly into a man's house in Bahurim, and they hid in a well. A woman, the man's wife, came out and put a covering over the well and scattered grain over the well so they could not be found. Absalom's servants came to the woman's house to inquire about the messengers. And the woman said unto them, "They have gone over the brook of the water." Absalom's servants searched for the area but couldn't find Jonathan and Ahimaaz. They had returned to Jerusalem. After some time, Jonathan and Ahimaaz were able to get word back to King David. Then David arose, and all the people that were with him, and they passed over Jordan. By the morning light, there lacked not one of them that was not gone over the Jordan. Once Ahithophel found that his advice wasn't followed, he took his own life. 2 Samuel 17:25. Absalom had appointed Amasa over the army in place of Joab. Amasa was the son of Jether, an Ishmaelite, who had married Abigail, the daughter of Nahash, and sister of Zeruiah, the mother of Joab. The Israelites and Absalom pitched in the land of Gilead. Some of the people that honored David brought a bounty of food for him and the people that were hiding out with him. David numbered and set captains of thousands and captains of hundreds over them. David sent out his troops, a third under the command of Joab, a third under the command of Abishai, Joab's brother, a third under Hittai, the Gittite. King David said that he will also march with them, but the people begged him not to go, but to stay back and protect those who were not going into battle. Even though David's men were going into battle with Absalom, David asked for his commanders to be gentle with his son. During the battle, Absalom rode up on a mule and his hair got caught in a tree branch, and the mule continued on. A man told Joab that he saw Absalom hanging from a tree. Joab asked the man, "Why didn't you kill him? I would have paid you." The man reminded Joab that King David said to all commanders to be gentle with Absalom. Joab said that he wouldn't wait. Joab killed Absalom by thrusting 3 darts in his heart. Picking up in 2 Samuel 18:15. Joab gave instructions to Hushai to tell King David the kingdom is safe. However, Ahimaaza asked if he could deliver the news to King David. "Let me run and take the news to King David. The Lord has vindicated him by delivering him from the hands of his enemy." After much persuasion, Joab allowed Ahimaaza to go and give the news. Ahimaaza outran Hushai and told King David that there was a lot of ruckus, but couldn't really see what was happening. Hushai had to let King David know that his kingdom had been avenged and that unfortunately Absalom is dead. Then King David mourned over his son Absalom. Now picking up in 2 Samuel 19. 2 Samuel 19, verse 5. Then Joab went to the house to the king and said, "Today you have humiliated all your men who have just saved your life and the lives of your sons and daughters and the lives of your wives and concubines. You love those who hate you, and you hate those who love you. You have made it clear today that the commanders and their men mean nothing to you. I see that you would be pleased if Absalom were alive today, and all of us were dead. Now go out and encourage your men. I swear by the Lord that if you don't go out, not a man will be left with you by nightfall. This will be worse for you than all the calamities that have come on you from your youth till now." So King David got up, took his seat in the gateway. When the men were told that king is sitting in the gateway, they all came before him, and David reunites his kingdom. Meanwhile, the Israelites had fled to their own homes. 2 Samuel 20. Sheba, son of Bikri, went up against David and had all the Israelites follow under Sheba. Amasa was summoned to go after Sheba, but took too long to get the job done. 2 Samuel 20, verse 7. David told Abishai to go after Sheba. Joab took his men under the direction of Abishai and went after Sheba, son of Bikri. During their march, they ran into Amasa, who went to hug Joab. This is when Joab stabbed Amasa and killed him. After that, Joab and his brother Abishai pursued Sheba, and the men followed suit. Sheba passed all the tribes of Israel to Abel Beth Maacah and through the entire region of the Bikrites, who gathered together and followed him. All the troops with Joab came and besieged Sheba in Abel Beth Maacah. They built a siege ramp up to the city, and it stood against the outer fortifications. While they were battering the wall to bring it down, a wise woman called to the city, "Listen, listen, tell Joab to come here so I can speak with him." He went toward her, and she asked, "Are you Joab?" "I am," he answered. She said, "Listen to what your servant has to say." "I'm listening," he said. She continued, "Long ago they used to say, 'Get your answer at Abel,' and that settled it. We are peaceful and faithful in Israel. You're trying to destroy a city that is mother to Israel. Why do you want to swallow up the Lord's inheritance?" "Far be it from me," Joab replied. "Far be it from me to swallow up or destroy. That is not the case. A man named Sheba, son of Bikri, from the hill country of Ephraim, has lifted up his hand against the king, against David. Hand over this one man, and I will withdraw from the city." The woman said to Joab, "His head will be thrown to you from the wall." Then the woman went to all the people with her wise advice, and they cut off the head of Sheba, son of Bikri, and they threw it to Joab. So he sounded the trumpet, and his men dispersed from the city, each returning to his home. And Joab went back to the king in Jerusalem. In the story of King David and Absalom, there were several women that are mentioned in their family dysfunction. Tamar, David's daughter, a wise woman used by Joab, a wench, which is a female servant from a nearby town of En Rogel, a man's wife from Bahurim, and a wise woman from Abel Beth Maacah. As you see, the townsmen listened to the wise woman, which in turn avenged King David's honor. Biblical women have a voice. Thank you for watching. Please check out the other content on this channel, and kindly like, share, subscribe, and hit the bell. And I pray that you have a blessed day. Thank you.